All right, everyone get ready because today we are going deep, deep into your thyroid.
Ooh, deep dive.
That's right, a deep dive into your thyroid.
I like it.
It's that tiny gland that has been called the master conductor of your metabolism. But do you know why?
I do.
Well, we are going to figure out exactly why it's earned that nickname today.
Excellent.
We got this physiology handout that we're going to be using.
Okay.
Think of it as our cheat sheet for understanding how this little powerhouse controls your energy, your growth, even your mood.
Yeah, it really does play a crucial role in so many things.
So to kick things off,
Yeah.
where even is this little maestro located?
Okay, so picture this. Your thyroid.
Okay.
It's nestled right in your neck, just below your Adam's apple.
Oh, yeah.
And it's small, but it produces two key hormones, T3 and T4.
Right.
And those have a huge impact throughout the body.
T3 and T4. See, those always sound so similar to me.
Yeah.
Is there a trick to remembering how they're different?
Think of it this way. T3 is like the sprinter, and T4 is the marathon runner of thyroid hormones.
I like that.
Yeah, so T3 is faster acting and more potent, but it burns out quicker.
Right.
T4 is slower to take effect, but provides longer lasting energy.
Okay, I'm certain to see why they're both important.
Yeah.
But how does our body even make these hormones?
Yeah.
It seems so complex.
It is complex, but fascinating too.
Okay.
Imagine your thyroid as a tiny, efficient factory, right? It takes raw materials, primarily iodine,
Okay.
and through a series of steps, assembles those crucial hormones, T3 and T4.
So the thyroid is the factory, and iodine is like the essential ingredient that it can't run without.
Exactly. Without enough iodine, the whole production line grinds to a halt.
That's why we hear so much about iodized salt.
Right.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's all about making sure we have enough of that key ingredient to keep our thyroids humming.
Now, once those hormones are assembled,
Yes.
how do they get around the body to do their jobs?
They don't just float around freely.
Right.
They travel through the bloodstream, bound to special proteins.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of like hitching a ride on a dedicated shuttle service
Okay.
that ensures that they're protected from breaking down too quickly
Right.
and that they reach their target destinations.
Wow, so it's like a carefully controlled delivery system for these powerful hormones.
Precisely.
I see.
And that level of control really highlights how important thyroid hormones are for so many bodily functions.
Speaking of which, what do T3 and T4 actually do once they reach their destinations?
Right.
We know they affect metabolism, but what else is on their to-do list?
Oh, their impact is really far-reaching.
Right.
You could say they have their fingers in a lot of pies.
Hmm.
We'll start with that metabolism piece, since it's a big one.
All right, lay it on me. How do they affect our energy levels?
Yeah.
Do they really control whether someone has like a fast or slow metabolism?
You bet they do. Think of T3 and T4 as the body's thermostat for energy expenditure.
Okay.
So they ramp up metabolism in most tissues.
Oh,
Control how quickly you burn calories and generate heat.
interesting.
So yeah, if someone says they have a fast metabolism, there's a good chance their thyroid is playing a role.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's like they're cranking up the furnace in our cells.
Hmm.
Now, there are a few exceptions,
Okay.
like the adult brain,
Okay.
along with a few other organs.
Okay.
Doesn't get that same metabolic boost.
Right.
But for most of the body, those thyroid hormones are essential for maintaining a healthy metabolic rate.
Interesting. So are they also involved in how our bodies process proteins, carbohydrates, and fats?
They are.
Okay.
So they influence both the building and breakdown of proteins,
Mm-hmm.
help regulate how we utilize glucose for energy,
Okay.
and they even play a role in mobilizing and burning fat.
So it's like they're master jugglers,
Yeah.
keeping all those processes in balance.
Exactly.
And what about their impact on our cardiovascular system?
Mm-hmm.
I know my heart can definitely feel a little fluttery, if I've had too much coffee.
Right.
Does it have anything to do with the thyroid?
It might. T3 especially can have a direct impact on the heart.
Okay.
It increases heart rate, the force of each beat, and overall blood flow.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if your thyroid is overactive, you might feel that familiar heart racing sensation.
Okay, that's making more sense now. What about our brain? Does the thyroid affect how we think and feel?
Absolutely. Thyroid hormones are essential for brain development,
Mm-hmm.
especially early on.
Oh, yeah.
They continue to play a vital role in cognitive function throughout life, influencing things like mood, focus, and memory.
So that sluggish feeling you get when your thyroid's out of whack,
Yes.
that's a real thing.
It absolutely is.
Wow.
And we're just scratching the surface here.
Okay.
Thyroid hormones also affect bone health,
Mhm.
red blood cell production, menstrual cycles, fertility.
Oh, wow.
They even play a role in converting vitamin A from the food we eat.
Wow, that's incredible.
Sure.
That is an incredibly diverse portfolio.
Yeah.
Makes you realize just how crucial this tiny gland is for our overall health.
Absolutely.
But how does our body make sure this powerful system doesn't go into overdrive?
That's where the elegant dance of regulation comes in,
Okay.
which is what we'll get into next.
Okay, so we've established that thyroid hormones are these like powerful multitaskers impacting everything from our metabolism to our mood. But how does our body make sure this intricate system stays balanced? You mentioned regulation, so let's break that down a bit.
It all comes down to a really beautifully coordinated feedback loop
Okay.
involving three key players:
Okay.
the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and of course, the thyroid itself.
Okay, so
We call this the HPT axis.
at HPT act. Okay, I'm picturing like a triangle
Yes.
connecting those three players.
Yes.
But how do they actually communicate and work together?
Okay, so imagine the hypothalamus, located deep within the brain,
Okay.
as the conductor of this hormonal orchestra.
Okay, I like that.
It constantly monitors the levels of thyroid hormones circulating in your blood.
Okay.
If levels dip too low, the hypothalamus sends out a signal.
A hormone called TRH, or thyrotropin-releasing hormone.
So TRH is like the conductor tapping their baton, signaling it's time to ramp things up.
Perfect analogy.
Okay.
And that signal is picked up by the pituitary gland,
Okay.
also located in the brain, which acts like the first violinist, responding to the conductor's cue.
Okay.
TRH prompts the pituitary to release TSH, or thyroid-stimulating hormone.
Okay, so TSH is the message that travels directly to the thyroid, telling it to get to work.
Exactly. TSH gives the thyroid the green light to increase production of T3 and T4.
Oh.
And as those hormone levels rise in the bloodstream,
Okay.
they signal back to the hypothalamus and pituitary to ease up on the TRH and TSH.
Wow,
It's a brilliant system of checks and balances that keeps everything in harmony.
it really is a remarkable dance.
It is.
They're all perfectly synchronized.
Yes.
But you mentioned earlier that external factors can also influence thyroid function, right?
Right. Things like iodine levels.
Right. Which we already discussed can definitely impact how well the system operates.
Yeah.
Even stress can play a role,
Oh, right.
often having a suppressive effect on the HPT axis.
So it's not just this internal dance, but external factors can kind of throw off the rhythm too.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
And when the delicate balance of thyroid hormone production is disrupted, it can lead to some significant health problems.
Like hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
We touched on these earlier, but I'd love to get like a deeper understanding of what happens when the thyroid symphony gets out of tune.
Of course.
Hmm.
Let's start with hypothyroidism,
Okay.
or an underactive thyroid.
Okay.
This means the gland isn't producing enough hormones,
Right.
leading to a whole cascade of symptoms like fatigue, weight gain, dry skin, and hair loss.
And this can affect anyone,
Yeah.
right? Not just adults.
Right. In infants, severe hypothyroidism can actually lead to a condition called cretinism,
Right.
which can cause stunted growth and developmental delays.
Mm.
It's a stark contrast to the more general slowing down of bodily functions we see in adults with hypothyroidism,
Right.
often referred to as myxedema.
So cretinism in children is more about a lack of development, while myxedema in adults is more about a slowing down of existing functions.
Exactly.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
What about hyperthyroidism? What's happening there?
Hyperthyroidism, or an overactive thyroid,
Right.
means the gland is producing too much hormone,
Hmm.
leading to a completely different set of symptoms: rapid heartbeat, weight loss, even with increased appetite, anxiety, difficulty sleeping.
And wasn't there something about bulging eyes being a symptom of hyperthyroidism?
That's right.
Okay.
Bulging eyes, or exophthalmos, is a characteristic symptom of Graves' disease,
Okay.
the most common cause of hyperthyroidism.
Right.
It's an autoimmune disorder where the body mistakenly attacks the thyroid,
Oh, wow.
causing it to overproduce hormones.
So thyroid disorders can manifest in some pretty dramatic ways.
Hmm.
How do doctors figure out what's going on with someone's thyroid? Is it all about blood tests, or are there other diagnostic tools?
Blood tests are definitely key.
Okay.
There are a variety of tests that can assess thyroid function.
Okay.
Some, like measuring basal metabolic rate or serum cholesterol,
Mm.
provide clues but aren't specific to the thyroid.
Okay, so those are more like general indicators, not a definitive diagnosis.
Exactly. For a more accurate picture, we look directly at thyroid hormone levels,
Okay.
which involves measuring the amount of protein-bound iodine, or PBI, in the blood.
Okay.
as well as directly measuring T3 and T4 levels.
Okay, so PPI tells us how much thyroid hormone is circulating.
Yes.
Bound to those transporter proteins we talked about earlier.
Uh-huh.
And then T3 and T4 measurements give us like a more precise look at the actual hormone levels.
You got it.
Okay.
But sometimes we need even more specific tests to pinpoint the root cause of a thyroid problem. For example, the TSH stimulation test helps distinguish between primary hypothyroidism,
Okay.
caused by an issue with the thyroid itself,
Mm-hmm.
and secondary hypothyroidism, which stems from problems with the pituitary or hypothalamus.
So if the thyroid responds to the TSH stimulation,
Right.
that points to the pituitary being the problem.
Precisely. Interesting.
And then there's the TRH stimulation test,
Okay.
which helps narrow down whether the issue lies with the pituitary or the hypothalamus in cases of secondary hypothyroidism.
It's like a detective game, using these tests to trace the problem back to its source.
Exactly.
And what about goiter?
Yeah.
Is that something doctors consider when diagnosing thyroid problems?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Goiter, which is a non-inflammatory, non-malignant enlargement of the thyroid gland,
Okay.
can be a clue.
I've always been curious about goiter. What causes it? Is it always a sign of something serious?
There are actually 3 main types of goiter,
Okay.
each with a different underlying cause.
Okay.
Simple goiter can occur due to mild iodine deficiency.
Okay. Or increased demand for thyroid hormones, like during puberty.
Right.
In this case, the thyroid is working harder to compensate.
Oh, okay.
So it's not necessarily a sign of a serious problem.
So even though the thyroid is enlarged, it can still be functioning normally.
Yes. In simple goiter, that's often the case.
Interesting.
Then there's colloid goiter, which is caused by severe iodine deficiency.
Okay.
This one is associated with hypothyroidism
Right.
because the lack of iodine prevents the thyroid from producing enough hormones.
Right. Okay.
And finally, there's toxic goiter,
Okay.
which is associated with hyperthyroidism and can be caused by Graves' disease or TSH secreting tumors.
So goiter can be a symptom of both an underactive and an overactive thyroid, depending on the underlying cause.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
The presence of a goiter itself doesn't tell us the whole story,
Right.
which is why those other tests we talked about are so crucial.
This is all incredibly complex, but I feel like I'm starting to grasp the intricacies of this system. We've covered so much,
Yeah.
from like the delicate dance of hormone production and regulation
Right.
to the potential consequences of imbalance
Yeah.
and all those everyday factors that
Yeah.
can impact thyroid function.
Right.
It really underscores how central the thyroid is to our overall health.
It truly is remarkable.
Yeah.
And what I find so fascinating is that we're still uncovering the full extent of the thyroid's influence and its intricate connections within the body.
Yeah.
There's always more to discover.
It makes you wonder what other secrets this little gland is holding.
Right.
Well, for everyone listening, remember that knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
The more you understand about your thyroid, the better equipped you'll be to advocate for your own health.
Yes.
If you have any concerns, talk to your doctor, and most importantly, stay curious.
Absolutely.
Keep learning, keep asking questions.
Keep those thyroids humming.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of the thyroid. Thanks for joining us. So let's get into some of those everyday things that might be, impacting our thyroids. I know stress can be a factor,
Right.
but what else should we be paying attention to?
Well, we talked a lot about how crucial iodine is for thyroid hormone production.
Right.
So naturally, not getting enough iodine in your diet can really throw things off.
You know what? I actually had a phase where I was all about sea salt,
Okay.
thinking it was the healthier option.
Right.
But I totally forgot about the iodine.
That's a common misconception.
Yeah.
While sea salt might have trace amounts of other minerals,
Right.
it's often lacking in iodine.
Okay.
Good old iodized salt is still the most reliable source for most people.
Interesting.
Of course, incorporating iodine-rich foods like seafood, dairy, and some fruits and veggies can help too.
So iodized salt and like a balanced diet are a good foundation.
Yeah.
Are there things we might be doing that could actually be harmful to our thyroids?
There are some environmental toxins that can interfere with iodine uptake by the thyroid.
Okay.
Chemicals like perchlorate and thiocyanate,
Oh, wow. Okay.
sometimes found in drinking water and some industrial products, can be problematic.
So even if we're being diligent about getting enough iodine,
Right.
these toxins can essentially block our bodies from using it effectively.
That's right. It's like sabotaging the factory's supply chain.
Wow, that's scary.
It's definitely worth being mindful of water quality and limiting exposure to those types of chemicals where possible.
What about medications? Can any common medications affect thyroid function?
There are some,
Okay.
like lithium and certain heart medications that
Yeah.
have been shown to have an impact.
Okay.
Of course, these medications are essential for managing other health conditions, so it's always a balancing act.
Sounds like open communication with your doctor is key,
Absolutely.
making sure they're aware of any potential interactions.
For sure.
And speaking of things that can disrupt that delicate balance,
Yes.
we can't forget about stress.
Right.
We touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
But it's worth emphasizing how much of an impact it can have. When we're stressed, our bodies release cortisol.
Right.
And cortisol can actually suppress thyroid hormone production.
Yeah, it can.
So, like, chronic stress could potentially contribute to hypothyroidism.
It could.
I can see how that could become a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Stress affecting the thyroid,
Yeah.
and then thyroid imbalances potentially, like, worsening stress.
Exactly. That's why managing stress is so vital for overall health,
Right.
including thyroid health.
And this is where things get even more fascinating.
Okay.
There's growing research exploring the link between the gut microbiome and thyroid function.
The gut microbiome.
It seems like it's connected to everything these days.
It really does. But when you think about it, it makes sense. The
Yeah.
gut is where we absorb nutrients,
Right.
including that all-important iodine.
Right.
So imbalances in the gut microbiome could affect iodine uptake.
Oh, wow.
And as a result, thyroid hormone production.
So taking care of our gut health could have ripple effects on our thyroid health as well. That's something I hadn't really considered before.
It's a relatively new area of research,
Right.
but it's definitely gaining traction.
Interesting.
And there's also ongoing exploration into the role of other nutrients,
Okay.
like selenium and zinc in thyroid function.
So it's not just about iodine.
Right.
There's like a whole supporting cast of micronutrients involved.
It seems that way. Selenium, for example, is essential for converting T4 to the more active T3. And zinc plays a role in both thyroid hormone production and regulation. It really highlights the interconnectedness of our bodily systems.
It's amazing how much we're still learning about this tiny but mighty gland.
I know. It is fascinating.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful. We've
Yeah.
gone from the intricate steps of hormone production
Yeah.
to the elegant dance of regulation, the potential consequences of imbalance, and all those everyday factors that can impact thyroid function. It really underscores how central the thyroid is to our overall health.
It truly is remarkable, and what I find so fascinating is that we're still uncovering the full extent of the thyroid's influence and its intricate connections within the body.
Right.
There's always more to discover.
It really makes you wonder what other secrets this little gland is holding.
Right.
Well, for everyone listening, remember that knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
The more you understand about your thyroid, the better equipped you'll be to advocate for your own health.
Yes.
If you have any concerns, talk to your doctor, and most importantly, stay curious.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and keep those thyroids humming.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of the thyroid. Thanks for joining us.